We signed a contract with the Commonwealth Bank in June 1985 to have a simulated foreign currency loan at 5 to 6% interest. And what we didn't know is that simulated means counterfeit, which means fraud, and the commercial bills were not negotiated on the open money market. And in accordance with the Bill of Exchange Act, that's fraud. I'm a builder, boiler maker, roof plumber. Yeah. I've done all sorts of trades, but the consequences of all these totally illegal charges is that we've lost our factories, lost our home, we've been bankrupted, all on false evidence. I refer to a letter from the fraud squad, and I won't read it, but it says, "This is the fourth time you've written to the fraud squad. If you write again, we won't reply, as the fraud squad has not got the criteria to investigate." And there is the document.
It's clear that there is as yet nothing that they have faced that has led them to say, well, we have to stop, we have to clean our act up. They have just read, a series of inquiries which go nowhere. They've read the wind and said, we'll just carry on. And the CEO of the Commonwealth Bank is classic like this, that they've done nothing they've totally ignored those victims of their financial scam. As a Fairfax journalist from a previous generation, Anne Lampy, she was for decades a finance journalist for the Herald in superannuation, and then by chance became the major journalist covering the foreign currency loan scandal in the late 80s and early 90s. And then she continued to write about bank victims for another decade. Anne Lampy found herself gradually having her brief marginalised, pushed off the pages with editorials saying, the reader isn't interested in this, blah, blah, blah. And eventually she resigned out of disgust. So we did observe a period there where things were okay. I mean, indeed, the press had to cover the foreign currency loan scandal because it was so fundamental. And so the press did a good job, but then once that was off the front pages, and there's this evolution towards a more commercial orientation, then nobody's covering it.
We live in a rented house, we've got an old car, a few sticks of furniture. But if you look at the evidence, we would have been a major employer, exporter, joint venturer. You couldn't do better with BHP, Austrade, Lysars behind us, and by criminal activity. And I'm straight out criminal activity. They've destroyed us, and they've done it to thousands of people.
The small business and family farming predation gets almost no coverage at all. It might get it sporadically, but the typical reading public who hasn't experienced it themselves personally, they've got no idea that this is endemic in the community, and more the suffering that's involved. Because once a small business has defaulted or a farmer has defaulted, their house, which is taken as security for the loan by the bank, is appropriated. All their assets are appropriated. They lose everything. They go on welfare. They lose their self-respect, and their lives are destroyed. and it's all over the place.
We lost our factory in 91, I think it was, and we were evicted from our home in 1990, and we've been renting since then, 15 years, and from the world at our feet, believe me, to struggling every week on a pension.
Monday morning, I'm sitting there talking to him and I said, I called out nurse, I feel my heart has stopped. They've given me too much.
And it's all from the stress, is it? That's how it started.
The cardiac fellow up there said it's called broken heart syndrome.
Broken heart syndrome.
I look at it this way, it's Armistice Day today. We have over 100,000 servicemen and women in war graves overseas. They gave their lives for our freedom. They turned in their graves so that they could see what a mess Australia is today, is in today. Well, I put it to all you people out there, what would you do if you had the evidence? Would you sit back and do nothing?
One of the, might seem silly, one of the things that, silly little things that affect you is when we first moved down here and we had young children and our families used to come down. Tony's mum and dad would always take us out to dinner because we were starting off the business. They'd always treat us, and Tony's mum would say, come on Johnny, give the grandchildren $5 each to spend, and we'd go to the beach, go for a picnic, and he would always buy the ice cream. Now, we would love to do that for our grandchildren, but we can't afford it. We live week to week. Our children help us. They send us on a holiday for our 50th wedding anniversary. They sent us to New Zealand on a holiday for their 70th birthday. They pay for us as Christmas presents to go to shows. Otherwise, we wouldn't do anything. You can't do charity work because you can't afford the petrol. We ask you for money, and if you haven't got it, we withdraw in the middle, and that's, what happened. They're vultures too. Vultures, honestly. And the actual first, the absolute, because we took the bank to court, we started.
We were forced to.
Yeah, but we engaged through our solicitor here in town, this barrister. We had to be at his office early in the morning, and we go in, we had to wait a few minutes, and we went in, and he sat down, huffing and carrying on, and he picked up bit of paper, and he looked at us, and he said, what was your case about again? And we due to go into court. I couldn't even sit there, I was sick. I was.
And all we ever wanted, like anyone, was a fair go.
Just an average Joe Blow, and you've worked hard all your life and, raised a family the best you could.
And do everything
It's
right.
demoralising, it's intimidating. I don't know, it just breaks your heart.